It's Life as I Know It for November 13th, 2018. I'm Stephen Lewis. Very sad over the passing of Stan Lee, the creator of modern American mythology for all intents and purposes. Stan, if you don't know him by name, you certainly know his work. If you've been anywhere near a theater over the last 10 years, then the Marvel Cinematic Universe has pretty much dominated the box office, and Stan created a good chunk of those characters. The Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man, the X-Men, and so many more. He, and along with, back in the day, Jack Kirby, who was the art behind it all, both now watching from comic book heaven as his characters live on well past him and well past any of us. Definitely, Stan was an interesting guy. He started out as a writer in the 30s and then went to war and then came back and did comic books just because he wanted to keep his job at the time. But he created some of those memorable characters in the world, the Fantastic Four being his first characters, and then Spider-Man, he said, being his favorite. And the great thing about Stan was he created characters that were super, but he always tried to focus on what made them super. Not necessarily their powers, but how they overcame things in their real life. Case in point, Spider-Man was bullied in high school, was the typical nerd at the time, and how was he going to get a date for prom? He looked at the real issues behind those characters and had this principle that what made you different is what made you special. And I think that's something that we could all probably learn a little bit from today, considering how judgmental we are in most cases. But Stan kind of took comic books to another level as far as the characters. He was the first to make them relate to you on a human level, and it was more, you didn't necessarily want to know what those characters were doing just because of their superpowers. You wanted to know what those characters were doing because of you felt like they were your friends and they were part of you. And not to mention, Stan also brought things into comics and used it as a way to express social issues. One of the biggest things, he had a thing in his Marvel days where he would write Stan's Soapbox, where he would just kind of say what's on his mind. It was his way of talking to the people that bought his creators. It was his way of talking to the people that consume the product that he was sending out there. And he talked about all kinds of things. And one of the things that I think it's cool that resurfaced, in 1968, he did a Stan's Soapbox, and I'll read it somewhat word for word. Let's lay it right on the line. Bigotry and racism are among the deadliest social ills plaguing the world today. But unlike a team of costume supervillains, they can't be halted with a punch or in the snoot or a zap from a ray gun. The only way to destroy them is to expose them, to reveal them for the insidious evils that they are. The bigot is an unreasoning hater, one who hates blindly, fanatically, indiscriminately. If his hang-up is black men, he hates all black men. If a redhead once offended him, he hates all redheads. If some foreigner beat him to a job, he's down on all foreigners. He hates people he's never seen and people he's never known. And he really brought that to light in a media that you wouldn't really expect it, because comics were always perceived as being for kids. But it's so strange that his words written in 1968 still hold very true 40 some odd years later. It is crazy to think that we lost Stan Lee, but it's amazing to think that the characters that he created, he's built a lasting legacy that will live on and live on and live on. So next time you watch a Spider-Man movie, or you watch one of the Marvel cinematic movies and you enjoy your popcorn and watch the movie, give an Excelsior for the great Stan Lee.